Hi. If you find this content useful, please support my channel on Patreon. Become a member of the family and get yourself the offered rewards. You find the link in the description. Hi, and welcome back after this little summer break to a new video. After Deadmau5 made his stream, many other producers and YouTubers jumped on that train. Suddenly, there was a lot of discussion.
That's a thing that I've noticed online a lot. Oh, EDM pro tip. Tune your kick. Dude, shut up. A kick is like a transient thing, you know? Like, the problem with the track is the kick is way too much. If you were to play this in a club or a big system, you would just hear 30 hertz across the fucking board. You'd hear nothing else. It would just be like, it would just sound like that. You can still use the same kick, but you gotta shorten the decay to like an 1/8 note. I find that the better tracks have actually shorter kicks because they're using low-end frequencies on synths and stuff like that. EDM producers these days, like, oh, you gotta tune your kick. You gotta tune your kick to the bass. I'm like, bro, kicks don't make bass. Kicks make kicks. Bass makes bass. Use bass for bass. You know, use a sub-osc or, you know, some kind of thing. You know what I mean? A kick drum is not a bass line. A kick drum is just literally, it could be a punchy little transient. It could be it can be at times, you know, be used as that fundamental bass frequency that the rest of the track spins around. But that very, very seldomly works.
Kicks make kicks. Bass make bass. Shorten your kick to an 1/8 note and everything is fine? Well, let's have a look. Please watch this video on proper monitors or headphones. As we are talking about very low frequencies, you might not hear the problem otherwise. I created a little kick and made it exactly an 1/8 note long. To make it really obvious, I let the bass overlap with the kick. In this exaggerated form, it is of course not a real-life example, but happens very easy in a reduced way in many genres. Playing them in isolation, everything is fine. But this happens when they play together. Partly it sounds right, but there are other parts where happens some rumble and it simply doesn't feel right. If we look at the MIDI, we got A, followed by G sharp, again A and F sharp. This sounds best at A, of course, as my kick plays an A. But hey, you might think, no wonder, you have to sidechain the kick to the bass. No problem. Here's Shaperbox on the bass channel with a really classical sidechain curve I use all the time in my music. Let's activate it and have a listen again. What did it change? To be honest, nothing. At least not much. When the bass plays in F sharp, we have the same problem again. Let's look at an oscilloscope. The one on the top shows the sum of kick and bass playing together. The one on the bottom shows the kick in red and the bass in green. The oscilloscope shows us one beat, so 4 16th notes. Watch again and focus on the second 16th. Because kick and bass play partly different pitches, we get very drastic phase problems. This is at low frequencies the biggest problem when mixing different pitches. When kick and bass playing the same pitch, the phase lines up very well and we got a very strong bass. Going only one semitone apart, we get already a different tone, as the phase doesn't line up the same way it did before, as already here the waveforms start to cancel each other out. We get less volume in this region than we had before. For example, on this cycle here, we have an amplitude of 9.25 decibel when the phase is in sync. This is dropping already to 6.67. With just this bit of cancellation, we lost already 2.6 decibel. In the example with the F sharp, so 3 semitones apart, we have already a lot of phase cancellation happening, eliminating parts of our bass and nearly causing a bit of pumping without having any sidechain going on. Our previous amplitude of 9.25 decibel has now dropped into the negative region. We lost about 10 decibels of signal here. A second myth is that a kick doesn't have a pitch, because it would be just a sine wave sweep. While that's true for the first half of the kick, it's absolutely wrong for the second half of most kicks. I took here a bunch of random kick samples. I cut off the first 16ths of the kick, and if the kick was longer than an 1/8, I cut off the tail as well. So this is left from these kicks, and I made them all unique as a sample, that we have just this part left. If I open these kick tails now in Edison and choose Detect Pitch Regions, with every single example, we've got a stable pitch for at least 2/3 of this remaining part. This one here has a pitch of F. I open the sampler in the sampler, set the root node to a lower F and enable the stretch algorithm. Resampling would shorten this part too much. With these settings, I can now play melodies. Has a kick a pitch? Not the whole kick, but the body definitely has. So let's sum this up a bit. A kick would be just a transient thing, he said. No, it isn't. There's definitely a measurable pitch in the kick too. And taking this pitch part out would equal to a high-passed kick, which nobody would consider to use as the main kick of a song. Shortening the kick to an 1/8 note would solve the problem. No, it doesn't. As soon as you have kick and bass overlapping a bit, you run at least into phase trouble, or even more in worst case. It depends always on the situation. If I run into trouble and can solve this easily by tuning my kick to a pitch that works better, why not? Is there anything against that? No, it isn't. Is it hard to do? No, it isn't. So why not? Again, it depends on the situation. But telling people they shouldn't do it as a general advice is just wrong. But what I personally consider as a good general advice is the more control you've got over your kicks, the better you can solve the most issues. And that is what we will have a look at in the next videos. So stay tuned and thank you for watching.